Okay, well hello guys and welcome to another video. Here I am in a very cheap Airbnb here in Hobart in Tasmania, Australia. So cheap you can probably even hear the sound of the toilet leaking in the background. And today we have a very special and exciting trip planned because we're going to head to a typical suburban supermarket here in Hobart, and it will give you an idea of what it's like to visit a supermarket pretty much anywhere in Australia. We have two main supermarket chains here in Australia, Coles and Woolworths. There are of course many smaller supermarkets. There are some in this area which quite often can be better. There's more of a niche. They're serving higher quality, if not maybe some more expensive products. But today we're going to visit either Coles or Woolworths. We'll decide once we get to the shopping precinct. So join me on this adventure. I have my reusable bag here because that's something that is encouraged in Australia in recent years. There was a time when you could go to a supermarket and they'd be very happy to give you a plastic bag, but now they're trying to reduce waste, which is a good thing. So you would have to pay for a bag if you're there. So let's head off and have a look at this suburban supermarket. Here in Hobart, it's one of the coldest parts of Australia, so we're very far south here. It's really the most southern main city in Australia, and we're filming this video pretty much the middle of June now, so very close to the winter solstice, and it's probably about 6 o'clock here. And as you can see, it's almost completely dark now, so the sun's rising probably about 7 o'clock or so and setting around about 5, so we do have much longer and warmer days in summer, but quite seasonal here in Tasmania. Of course you do have seasonality pretty much all over Australia, but if you went very far north to places like Cairns or Darwin, it would be very warm now, and really not that different to summer in a lot of places, but certainly here south in places like Tasmania, Victoria, even most of New South Wales, South Australia, Perth, Adelaide, these places, we do have a lot of seasonality and we do get relatively cold winters and quite warm summers at the same time. So fairly cool in the day now, but certainly over night time it'll cool down even further here, and you do get a little bit of snow in the higher parts of Tasmania. So there's a mountain here above Hobart called Mount Wellington, and we do get a bit of snow high up in the mountain when it's cold enough and wet enough at the moment. So let's keep going and check out this supermarket. Another thing about Hobart here is that it's a relatively small compared to most of the capital cities in Australia. So our biggest cities are Sydney and Melbourne, which relatively similar population. Sydney is a little bit bigger at the moment. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but I think both of them are sort of around about the 5 million mark. Then you have Brisbane, which is certainly above 2 million, and cities like Adelaide and Perth, which are both above 1 million. But Hobart, the largest city in Tasmania, is certainly a lot smaller, so again, don't quote me, but you would be looking, my guess is in the range of about 200,000 to 300,000. So certainly much smaller than Sydney, and probably around 10%. Less than 10% of the population of Sydney here in Hobart. And one thing about that is obviously public transport. So it tends to be a relatively car-dependent city. We do have some buses here in Hobart, but really the main way that people get around is by car. not many other options. So we don't have a suburban train system like you do in places like Melbourne or Sydney, and certainly not a tram network. There was once a tram network, but really what we see here in Hobart is once car ownership started to take off, that's really been the preference for everyone. So I'm actually walking from the apartment to the supermarket here, but that's the city is walkable, but it's relatively uncommon. So most people, as you can see by the cars around me here, most people in Hobart, they really get around by car. Okay guys, well we've found the first supermarket here. If I can quickly cross the road and don't get run over, but as you can see here it's a Woolworths, so I believe there is a Coles somewhere around here, but the Woolworths is the first one that we've found, so let's go in and have a look. And as you can see here, typical with a lot of modern car dependent developments in the last 50 years that we've built here in Australia, there's actually no pedestrian entry, so here I am walking in on the driveway. I guess the designer thought that pedestrian entry would be a bit too pesky and would interrupt the flow of cars, so we walk in on the driveway sharing this turn arrow, and we walk through the car park to get into the supermarket. So we've now found a pedestrian area, so here we go. Someone's marked these lines indicating we've found a safe area for pedestrians to walk in. Okay, well let's go in and have a look at what's on sale. Yeah, so it's looking like the car park we just walked through. It's actually on top of the store. So the store it's effectively underground here by the look of it. Okay guys, well here we are, let's have a look around and see what we can buy. Yeah, so as you can see, we've just had a bit of a walk around. This is fairly typical of a large supermarket in Australia. We have like a fresh food section, bakery, areas for meat, etc. and just a lot of aisles for groceries. So I'd say this would be a fairly large supermarket overall, but I'd say fairly typical. You could go to a Woolworths in Sydney or Melbourne or Hobart and you'd find pretty much the same thing. Okay, well I'm going to go buy my groceries and then we'll go and pay and make some conclusions about this supermarket.
Select from displayed items or look up item alphabetically. Place item on scale. Please place item in the bagging area. Change. Notes are dispensed below the scanner. Please take your receipt.
Okay guys, well that's the experience we've had shopping in a typical Woolworths supermarket here in Australia. As you can see, the automatic check-in machines, that's something that's been very common here, at least for the past 5 years, and you'll find them in most, certainly the major Woolworths and Coles supermarkets. Independent supermarkets not so much, so that was my experience. I think overall very good. Hours of operation, open very late, convenient hours, and yeah, very clean and relatively affordable. So hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you hopefully soon for another video somewhere here in Hobart.